If you are hesitant about whether you need to take the CAPM now or the PMP later, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to explain the difference between the PMP certificate and the CAPM certificate. And I'm going also to advise you whether to take the CAPM now or postpone the decision and take the PMP later on. Let's get started. The difference between PMP and the CAPM is that PMP is Project Management Professional. It's for professional, which means the people who already have experience. And the CAPM is the abbreviation for Certified Associate in Project Management. So this is a certification for associates. From this perspective, we understand that this certificate is for those who have experience, and this certificate is for those who are beginners. And we can see that from the eligibility criteria as well. For the experience, the PMP requires minimum 3 years of experience. If you have high school diploma, then the requirement becomes 5 years of experience. But if you have bachelor degree or master degree, then you just need 3 years of experience. Whereas the CAPM, 0 years. You can just, if you have graduated, right away take the CAPM certificate, and that's enough. And you can see here the big difference. When it comes to education, both requires diploma. And when it comes to the training, both requires official training, but the PMP requires 35 contact hours, while the CAPM requires only 23 hours. So this in terms of eligibility criteria, and you can right away understand that if you have plus 3 years of experience, it's no-brainer. Go for the PMP, no need to take the CAPM certificate. So here, if you have more than 3 years of experience, the PMP is right for you. Let's now understand a bit more the characteristics of these two exams. In terms of questions, the PMP contains 180 questions, whereas the CAPM contains 150 questions. We can understand that the PMP is a bit more complex, and this is also illustrated from the format of the questions. The PMP, the questions are situational, which means that for each question you are facing a situation, a scenario, and you need to figure out what should the project manager should do. And usually these questions are between 4 to 6 lines. On the other hand, for the CAPM, the questions are knowledge-based or direct, and the size of the questions are usually between 1 and 2 lines only. And usually those questions is about techniques or about development approaches. They are usually direct questions. So that's the difference, and you can understand that this type of questions are aligned with the experienced people, while these type of questions are aligned with people who are just graduated and they need just to broaden their knowledge about project management. And we can see that from the scope of the exam as well. For the PMP, the scope is about process, people, and business environment. Whereas for the CAPM, the scope is about business analysis, project management fundamentals, agile project management, and predictive project management. So we have here 4 elements. And you can see that here we have project management fundamentals, the main development approaches, agile, predictive, business analysis as well. For the PMP, we have here process 50%, people 42%, and business environment 8%. And you can see that the PMP 42% about people, and that's how to manage people, and that's why we need experience to answer these kind of questions. For the CAPM, we don't have something similar. We could have some questions about team management, but they are knowledge based, as we said, and they are just asking about some techniques such as the Tuckman ladder, for example. And that's the difference between the two. For the PMP, the questions are much more advanced. So if you are fresh graduate, I advise you to start with the CAPM. It's the right certificate for you. So here, for fresh graduates, CAPM is the best fit for you. Now we are here answering let's say, the simpler questions. When you have much more experience or when you don't have experience at all. Let's now answer the gray zone, which are if you have 1 to 2 years of experience or if you are deciding to do a career shift. If you have 1 to 2 years of experience, you still not eligible for the PMP, and here my advice is to proceed with the CAPM certificate since you don't have the eligibility of the PMP. And by getting the CAPM at this level, you are preparing for the next step, and later on, after 1 to 2 years, taking the PMP will be much more easier for you. So this is my advice for you. On the other hand, if you already have 2 years of experience, then I advise you to immediately start preparing for the PMP. And once you get the 3 years of experience, you apply for PMP and take the PMP at this time. So if you already have 2 years of experience, you can skip the CAPM and start preparing for the PMP. Take 6 months to few months or the 1 year of preparation for the PMP and sit for the exam right after having the 3 years of experience. Now let's talk about the career shift. And the career shift, in this case, you might have 5 years of experience or even 10 years of experience, but this experience is not really in project management. You might have some operational tasks and you need to switch to project management career. And here, if you did not do any project management before, you are not eligible for the PMP. And in this case, you need to go for the CAPM. This certificate is good for career shift because it introduces you to the shift from operational work to project management work. And once you get the CAPM, you can start doing project management. And after 3 years of practicing project management, then you can get the PMP. Be careful here. When we said experience 3 years, it means that 3 years in managing projects or doing in managing projects. Does not necessarily that you are project manager as a title, but at least you are within the project management team and you practice some management activities, whether you manage the stakeholders or you manage team or you manage the schedule or you manage the budget or you manage the risks or you manage the quality, whatever aspect of project management you are working in. If you are involved in project management, that's fine. That's counting as project management experience. But if you did not do any of this, then go for CAPM. Hopefully that I explained everything about the difference between these two certificates and helped you decide whether to go for the PMP or the CAPM. If you have questions that I did not counter in this video, you can put in the comments box. You can hit the subscribe buttons to see my next videos.